but I was definitely down there. We did much better on the push key race. But yeah, I don't know. What do you mean no one understood that widget was tracking? We posted everything in the Discord. Everybody should have understood how it was working. What was confusing about the widget? Alright, here we go.
Five, 4, 3, 2,
Rise
1.
look like? I'm trying to remember. Rise is... oh, okay, it's the open area at the beginning, I remember. Could have just been two times of the combined T's? No. No. I don't think so. Point system was fine. And I wrote about it in the chat. Like, if people don't read the team's chat, then that's their fault. But yeah, I wouldn't have changed anything. I think it was a good way to do it. And originally, we were going to eliminate teams, which we didn't end up doing. I mean, it was super simple, and we wrote about it. Like, who was confused? I mean, a lot of people don't read the team's chat, and that causes confusion. I mean, what in team's chat was confusing about that? First place is 9 points, second place is 6 points, third place is 3 points, like... And why didn't you ask a question in the team's chat? Like, I don't understand. Like, that's why the team's chat is there. Like, there's so much effort that goes into communication. So, like, I don't know, ask a question that I don't understand. Yeah. It really triggers me because I put a lot of effort into posting on Discord all week and checking on you guys, and you know, if something doesn't make sense, I would definitely ask a question. Because it's just like, why am I trying to coordinate all this? No one asks anything. I don't know, man. Kinda makes me go nuts. Bell's gonna have to calm me down soon. I mean, explain it to them. Like, you're in the team's chat, you read the rules, so if they're asking a question, you should be able to explain it. Or, you know, should have clarified. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Bella, was it some confusion? That I don't know. My team asked me how it worked. I explained it to them in like 10 seconds, and then no more questions. Well, we were going to give you money if you won. Well, you're not part of the team, so you wouldn't have been able to read the Discord. Oh shit. Nice darkness. This tank is really good at least. It's gonna hit.
Infinite vision guides me. Feel the horrors yet to pass. Divided, you fall. My strike is true. Annihilation is imminence. My blows are
Oh shit, I forgot the turn. Good time. Good. That was very easy though. Sucks too. Nice move, nice move. Whoa, 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 whoa. Got your map. Hey, thanks for the like. Oh, yeah, good morning. Good morning, TikTok. Alright, let's see if I can finally make it through this hell. God damn it. Great. Shit. Alright, I'm waiting. Fuck it. At least Toll's made it. Come on, open the door. Anybody make it? Waiting patiently for the portal.
the time waits.
Good morning, TikTok. You guys. And I always mess up on that portal. It's so annoying. Hey, what's up, Kenny? How are you?
Hello there.
Jesse. See. Damn, that guy almost got pumped. Alright, here we go, here we go. This area just sucks for trash. Tolls, I got you. Oh shit, see that one? Let's take on. Sec. Spirit Link did not hit the tank. The Spirit Link completely missed the tank. Jesus Christ. Pretty good. Like yesterday was like not good. I'm still recovering from yesterday, but today is okay so far. We had a Mythic plus key race yesterday, so that was fun. We're gonna do a great push event next month. We'll do with the different teams. Morning TikTok. We're doing viewer keys. Hope everybody's doing well. How's your morning, AR? All good? Having coffee? Is this... I feel like he's taking more damage for a second. I think warriors are almost unkillable, right? Shaman buffs are nice, but I think warrior is just still pumping. Have warriors gotten any buffs lately? Does anybody know? I feel like they're not very popular as tanks at the moment. Nice, nice, nice. My damage this key still 35k. With the damage buffs, I'm having trouble keeping my damage. Knit Classic is kind of cringe. What are you playing, Mr. Beast? I assume you meant not Classic. I just don't like the leveling process in Classic, but still playing a little bit of SOD. Just hard to get to 25. Definitely prefer the leveling in retail, which is to say you don't really level your end game immediately. What's that Incorporeal effects this week? I haven't done any, and plus this week I just came back. So the effects, you have to CC it, but it doesn't break CC once you CC it. If you don't CC it, it casts a 50% damage and healing debuff, so if it gets cast twice, it's really pretty deadly. It sucks. It's probably the worst effects that they added. I think it's worse than Thundering in my opinion. Yeah, there's a couple things you can do to it, and actually Priest I think can mind control it, and then the your enemies get debuffed, which is cool. But it's very, I think it's very aggressive in terms of affixes. If you look at something like Sanguine, it's just gonna slow you down, in my opinion. Yeah. It's still very difficult to... Sorry guys, you're just getting like one shot here. Oh, shit. Just double check one thing. Thunder was way worse. You think so? I don't know, man. It depends on your comp. There's been some comps where there's only 2 people that can do, is it Afflicted? That drives me crazy. I mean, I didn't like Thundering either, no doubt. What killed you there? I didn't see. At least more specs can help with Incorporeal. Why is it doing so much damage? What are these guys casting? I just hope Microsoft lets Don't Affect Mojo Blizzard has been lately. Yeah, it's a little concerning for sure. I've heard they're more interested in their mobile games though, honestly. Rue, you think they should bring back a seasonal effects? Last week was horrible and plus 17 afflicted. Reduced haste used to screw me as Mistweaver. Yeah, I mean, they're both bad. I really don't like the affixes this season, although I don't miss explosives. I didn't like explosives very much. I'm glad that's gone. Those dwarfs are coming out soon, I think. Let them get too close to you. Do a shitload of damage. Should be a good seasonal fixer for Tyrannical. Should be a good seasonal. Are you thinking they should even update Fort and Tyrannical? I never thought about that actually. It's been so like integrated into the game. I never thought about them, you know, changing. That could be good though. Where's Tolls? Tolls, where are you? I don't see you anywhere. Yeah. I think, Jesser, you gotta get, God damn it. So annoying. Think you're rerolling Outlaw? I don't know anything about rogues nowadays, to be honest. I mean, I know they're good. I don't know much about them. Hey, good morning, Doll. How are you? Try to get out of combat, guys, if you can. I want to be able to get Sean back in. Alright, I think we got him back. That one wasn't as good, but still okay. Oh, he's melting actually. It's absolutely melting. Just gonna stand in this hole. I never expected to be under at 0.5 yesterday was going to be the right play. Wait, what do you mean? I'm so confused. Oh, that was a really bad one. That was not so good. Your point total in the competition. I mean, I was in far last, pretty much. We were in 5th place twice. Just didn't have the speed. I couldn't set a good tempo. Just don't tank that much anymore, and I'm not doing that well. I don't want to do tank. I think Hydrax was really far ahead. He was melting those keys, man. I don't know. It there's got to be some really big improvements before, you know, like there's some improvements that you might want to send the duck suit. The fucking duck suit. That's so funny. That is funny, man. Oh shit, speak of the devil and he shall come up. Dude, thank you for the raid. This is the IGC champion, Hydrax AU, Christabella, and Hammer Razor. How are you, man? How was your post-championship stream? G'day, mate. You guys give Hydrax a follow, I'll give the whole chat some GLG. Just don't forget to give him some support. He is the champion of the international gaming community, along with Christabella and Hammer Razor. Nice. I mean, well, what character are you on? You on your DH or something else? After success, he went right back to failure. I'll rush your tolls, just give me a second. He's doing so much damage. See what's killing people? You did good, dude. I think we'll just do a single key race for Feb, and then we can look to do the great push in March, maybe late March. We should probably get a caster for late March, Hydrax. I think it's worth it for that. I don't know if you agree or not. I think we need a caster. What do you think? I think we got 2 months to find somebody, so that's not bad. You want me to be a caster and do it in the Godfather voice? You don't stream, Gutty. You need a streamer.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey,
1.
Orphy. Honestly speaking, yeah, it's hard to get people to actually watch the caster stream. Usually people just watch whoever they want to watch, you know, in the race. Stop in the name of Morchi. How are you, Orphy?
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
A little too far on that one. 2 days. I don't know if you need a caster so much you should dedicate multi-view that can focus on certain teams. I mean, the good caster has the ability to go to different screens and stuff, just by like pressing a button. But we'll see who will want to do it. So I should res tolls. Oh, sorry, toll. Yeah, but I don't, we'll see. I mean, we'll, Hydrax, I think Hydrax left already, but we'll try it. If it doesn't work out, it's fine. You know, we did the last one without, caster on the, what helps is, like, you know, all of us have the race, points. But the barrier is just someone who doesn't want to cast over it, but you have someone who can watch the streams and swap on the team. It's on the most interesting part of the dungeon. We don't have anybody right now. When I initially asked, the first time we did it, I asked Sam Talks and then he was like had a couple things going on. He wasn't sure if he could do it, and then like I was like, dude, you gotta tell me. And then he was like, I can't do it. I got other stuff going on. And I think we ended up getting Dark the Panther and then Astralin like last minute. That was not good for them either, and they didn't have anything to plan. It's okay. I'm not like really feeling it, Bull. It's not like I'm not like blowing stuff up. You should get DOA. You have unlimited budget, right? Who's DOA? Is that Dark the Panther also? Dark Orpheus Panther. Uh-oh. Tolls, you left me! Sad. Did some Rainbow Six while I'm here. That was not good, Abby. How are you this morning, Abby? Good morning.
How original!
Yes, yes, yes. It's my fault, my fault. Alright, let's do it. We're fine. Tolls will get here eventually. I'm okay. Had a tough day yesterday, but I'm doing okay. These guys suck, huh? Hey, what's up, who dat? World of Warcraft? Dragonflight? How are you? And good morning. I want to lose my tank here. Nice. I think he cut his teeth casting Counter-Strike. I don't know him. Is he good? I don't want to contact casters again though, that was a little bit too stressful. I would prefer never to do that again. If somebody like volunteers to do it, I'm not gonna message like 7 people again. That was awful. And it's not like we have a budget to like pay people, you know? I have no budget to like I can barely pay the winners. How much and what console is it on? I think it's just PC. It's like, it's a subscription, it's like 15 a month, I think. I guess we'll see if it's Game Pass or not. He's pretty good. I was joking through. He's literally contracted with Blast, getting him gas. Yeah, we have no budget for a talented person, and I totally understand. You know, they want to get paid if they're the talent. We're a little bit bigger. Once somebody else makes partner, I think. Concept's just like an MMO. The storyline is not anything too compelling, honestly, but the gameplay is fun. A lot of cooperative stuff. There's some PvP. Great song. I think if somebody else could make partner, it would help us a little bit to, you know, you just naturally generate a little bit more revenue. I don't know how to go about finding them, but there are certain people looking for. Yeah. Definitely, some people just want the experience. I mean, so Hydrax may have some people in mind, he may not, but there's definitely people that just want to cast. Even Bulbarian said he'd like to try it once, but I was just telling Bull I would like rather him be involved. You know, he's more. You ever played Star Wars: The Old Republic? Yep, I have played it. I like the PvP in Star Wars: The Old Republic. The PvE aspect was okay, but I enjoyed the PvP more. We'll see though. If somebody, you know, we'll mention it. Can you pitch to companies, product sponsors? I mean, a couple of companies have approached me about sponsorships that for me to run, but I have not been approached for like the team. If that makes sense. I'm considered like average at this game. I'm not like good. God damn it. That's ironic. He just died. Tolls, can you pick me up? That's funny. I'm okay. I'm like maybe above average, I'd say. That's ironic. I'm telling him I'm above average on the fucking ground. So funny. Doing viewer keys, guys. Keywords Pro if you want a viewer key. Don't forget to like and follow. It's pretty funny shit. Part of the problem is that by the time a caster reaches the point where they're likely to know them, they're also likely to price range. Yeah, definitely. Hey, thanks for the likes, Eddie. Thank you for the likes, Sudat. Don't forget to follow. We're pushing for 10k. Yeah, I mean, basically I have to fund it. Hydrax helped me a little bit, but it's not really fair to ask him to pay too much, because he's not getting a lot of commercial revenue at the moment, so like... I mean, he might be getting sub revenue, I don't know, but... Until he makes partner, he's gonna have a little bit less coming in just because of the commercial bonuses. We'll see though, I mean, not... The best fit is probably somebody who just wants some experience and get lucky. Bowls, pick me up. Come on, dude. I'm on the ground here. Yo, what's up, Arch? How are you, man? It's a good clip, Arch. I would suggest Baldur's Gate 3, to be honest. I wouldn't suggest another MMO at the moment. MMOs typically take a lot of time. I like Baldur's Gate 3 at the moment. That's what I'm pitching. Wonder if you might be able to find someone on Fiverr if you made a post on WoW. I mean, definitely you could. That's definitely a way to do it.